And running. Everything looks great. Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, trending Tuesday. I love this day. So much.
Triumph.
Say that what? What'd you say?
Triumph Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Trending triumph. You know, I always kind of mess up the two sometimes, but oh well, we deal. Good morning, everyone. This is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss, live with
TwoSistas. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Excuse me, Triumph Tuesday. And let me just say, there was a whole lot of kaboosh, kabosh, kamish, collaboration, outages, dare I say more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was cracking up over that. Like people were really kind of out of sorts with all of that. And, you know, I had so many people texting me because it, you know, it came back on for like a short second and then it was out again. You know, what is going on? You know, I can't get my messages. I can't retrieve them. And I thought to myself, see, I felt that for so long, on and off, being in Flakebook jail. So it was interesting to see. I mean, for me, I don't get bothered with it because I come up with strategies to navigate around that. And I really found it interesting that a lot of people were so flustered that they couldn't think of other strategies. Like I had so many people like asking me that, and what do you do? Well, you know, try to get their contact information via telephone. That's why it's always good to have someone's cell phone number, right? If you don't have their cell phone number, do you have their email? How important is it that you need to contact them? Or is it just the fear that you can't contact them? And I think for some, that's exactly what it was, is people realize, wow, I really, as much as this person is part of my life via social media, someone that I chat with every day, now all of a sudden, because we formed this relationship over social media, whether it be a client, whether it be a customer, whether it be, you know, someone that you really have connected to, that you locked arms, that you consider they're part of your inner circle, and you don't have their contact information.
And that's one reason. And my very good friend, who's also my business coach, sent out an email immediately to all our clients and said, you know, that thing I've been talking to you about getting your email list together. And she is so right. So thank you, Lisa Marie. We are definitely doing that. Going to get that up and running hopefully within the next week or so. But that just goes to show you the communication key factor, how much big tech controls that. So it's within our control to do, prepare for different things. For instance, we are not only on YouTube, we are also on Rumble and BitChute. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Those are 3 different video platforms. We are on 18 different podcast platforms. Okay, so that's another great way somebody could get a hold of us. Our website, which you can leave us a voice message right on the website. So that's another avenue. And the other thing, flip side for us is, like I said, we're going to start working on our email list. But, you know, not only with just phone numbers, but when somebody asks you your phone number, or maybe, for instance, hey, do you have Carol Sue's phone number? What is it? Quite honestly, I couldn't tell you what it is. I would have to look it up because we're just pressing the name on our.
I don't know what my cell phone number is.
508. I'd have to look it up.
Lordy. Okay.
No, that just goes to show you that we rely on those, you know.
Yeah, I'm a numbers person, so it's just this weird thing. Like I can still remember, you know, our home phone number, 203-236-0914, and that is from when we were children. I'm just a numbers person for whatever reason. And it's, you know how everyone has that uncanny
Yes.
knack, that uncanny talent that means really nothing. Well, that's mine. I'm good with numbers. I just remember numbers. I don't know
I'm
why.
cool. Well, I'm semi okay with that. And the funny thing about that number is those are the last 4 digits of my cell phone number.
Right. That's why I would say, right.
Synchronicity that I don't, years ago, I believe in coincidences. I don't believe in that anymore. It's synchronicity. That's something that, okay. Yeah. All right. And then I see it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. I know. I get mixed up between 579 and 679. I know that, obviously know the area code, but anyways, that just goes to show you that we are tuned into different things that are quick and that maybe we think are quicker, but in a situation as yesterday where maybe some of us were struggling to make contact with something, the time frame when I heard about it, I happened to go into Loomly. No, actually that was afterward, but I went into Loomly and I noticed that the post that we scheduled for yesterday afternoon did not go through. And I'm like, why did that happen?
That's interesting. So who owns Loomly? That's my curious thing with different apps, because we are finding out, obviously, many people have their theory on why they think things happened yesterday. Because it was not just Facebook that was down, it was Instagram, it was WhatsApp, the WhatsApp app. And now you have somebody coming forward with some realization as to what's going in the inner circle of what goes on in some social media technology companies. And I would be curious that if there were other apps that were not working correctly, because obviously you did not hear anything about Loomly being not working correctly. So what was
No,
it?
but that was connected to our page, and that was the time frame when Facebook was out. So
Okay, I see what you're going. Okay.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So it wasn't necessarily a Loomly issue. It was because
No, it was Facebook issue. So when I went back, I saw that it didn't go through. So when I went back in after I had heard about the thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
Right, because you could not, even if you were to try to locate a group, a private group, a page or whatever, it would just spin. The hourglass would spin and you were like spinning like you were on a hamster in a wheel that was going nowhere fast. But what did that, hopefully people really got the message that even not just email, we've come to, like you were just talking about, typing, looking up someone's name and hitting send. Well, back in the day, guess what? Maybe that's why I became a numbers person. You got to memorize the person's telephone number and connect the dots of who it belonged to. We didn't have a phone that automatically dialed a number by a name. You had to actually either dial it or punch it in eventually.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember when the push button phones came? Like, I remember being so fascinated by that. You could, it was
right. And a lot of people did not realize that the technology in that was really, you could hear, and I proved that point when I was young.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night.
Right, even with a phone that you had to actually turn, you didn't push the button, you actually had to dial.
Yeah.
And the dial number went by the number of, I think it's analog taps to create that number. And that even with initially when the push button came out, you could still hear, whatever number you were punching in, you could still hear that tone. So in other words, for those of you that talk for a second, and I'm going to actually go get the phone to show.
Okay, so way back when we were living in Cromwell, we had a New Britain number and we lived in Cromwell, and that was, my parents did not realize that it was long distance phone call. So lo and behold, my parents received the phone bill and were just like flabbergasted. My mother thought it would be a good idea to put lock on the phone. So they bought locks for the phones. which is kind of crazy when you think about it, locks on the phones. So
Tell that
for,
story.
for the dial, not for this one that she's showing us.
Right. Well, actually, this
No,
phone
that
would
is
be-
dial.
This is a dial phone. So this was actually one of the ones that did have it. There was two locks. There was one in the kitchen, and there was one on this phone. So what it did is you can see. So for those of you that are listening, I'm actually taking our old phone, and so right here. Whoops, we're frozen for a second. Right here, there is where when you would hit. When you push the, you put your finger in to switch over, it would stop you. And that would allow the phone to know what number you were actually dialing. So the lock would go right here, so you couldn't go any further. So in other words, this dial wouldn't move. So what I did to prove the point that you can still use the phone is I took off the receiver. So again, those that are listening but cannot see what I'm doing, I'm actually taking an old phone and demonstrating. And it's actually our phone from when we were kids. So over here, when you take the, whoops, hold on. We lost you for a second. Wait a minute. Let's go back. There we go. Back in the day, these would pop up. Now, for whatever reason, they don't pop up anymore, but this is where you would put the receiver down. So what I did was I took the receiver off the telephone. And if I was dialing the number, now back then you weren't necessarily, you did use an area code because some parts of the state had different area codes, but back then I don't think they did. It was one area code. So you only had to dial the actual 7 numbers. So if the number was 2360914, for 2, I'd hit 1 2 3 1 2 3 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. And then 0914. So I would tap the actual number and the phone would register the actual tap, the actual number taps, and it would know what number it was. And I was still able, even though the phone was locked, I was still able to use that. And my parents obviously went ballistic when they got the next telephone bill because they could not figure out how in the world, they thought I cracked the code of the lock, which was not the case. It was, I cracked the code of the phone to understand how the phone actually worked.
And I remember getting caught doing that. And mom, I didn't realize mommy was behind me and I was in the kitchen calling someone. So I was do.
Yeah.
So I'm talking, blah, 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 blah. Hang up the phone, turn around, there's mommy. And she's like, how did you do that? I said, well, Carol Sue showed me. So I ratted you out. I don't know if you ever knew.
That's okay that you ratted me out. I mean, you obviously were talking locally. I was talking to a boy who actually lived in South Windsor Locks area. And back then, that was a long distance phone call. And you were charged for a long distance phone call. Hence why back in the, early 70s, a $100 phone bill was like $1,000 phone bill today. And I did that twice. And I worked it off. It took me a long time.
And I want to share that I remember at one point, I don't know if mommy and daddy got us like the kids' phone. So the kids' phone was upstairs, which was the push button.
Yes.
But
trim line. It was a trim line.
Yeah, but we couldn't get phone calls if we were downstairs. So we used to transfer the line to the parents' line. They'd be like, why are they still getting phone calls on our phone?
Right, because there was a way to transfer them. That's true. It's just all these funny, quirky things. So how I worked off that bill, I was had to iron shirts and I got $1/4 shirt. So you can imagine how many shirts I had to iron for my dad because our dad wore, a dress shirt to work every day. And he always had a very clean, heavily starched collar, not too starched in the actual shirt part, but he always wanted that crisp collar. And I had to iron all his shirts. Now, and I had to make sure because he went to the dry cleaners. So I had to make sure that my ironing was up to the standard that he was used to. So yeah, I ironed a lot of shirts, but I triumphed over it. I not only triumphed how to break the code, triumphed over the, the ramifications of learning the code. And, it's a funny story that, will be passed down for infamy because everyone knows I have a thing for phones, whether it's cell phone. I remember when the first cell phones came out, and this would have to be, it would have to be late 70s that I think I got one, late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And it had like half the size of this, if that, but it also had a built-in like lanyard, and everyone would crack up because I would, wear it as a necklace, like it was my jewel. And I always have I always have my phone on me still to this day. I am always a phone person, always have been. Partly because I think I just like to hear people's voices. And I think that's something that we talk about. And one of the things that you need to triumph over, that you cannot rely socially on social media for relationships. You can't rely on social media. And yes, I realize now we definitely have a voice button, which does help, but it's still so nice to just pick up the phone and chat with people, which I've been doing very well about picking up the phone and calling people as I promised that was something that I was going to work on because we tend to get that relationship gets lost in the shuffle. I mean, how many people that that you would, pick up the phone and you would, have that morning cup of Java or cocoa or tea or water, whatever it was, and, gab with them. And especially when, take away, the phone with the cord, even on your cell phone, you would just have it and you were chatting and still kind of multitasking rather, what you were doing. So you might be washing dishes, folding laundry, but you're still on the phone. And I think I don't know whether we've become complacent, whether we're becoming a lazy society where like you're on the couch. And again, I think it goes back to multitasking for entertainment purposes. So you're on the couch watching a movie or news or whatever you're doing, or you got your laptop and then your phone's there and you could actually watch something on TV, still, be working on your computer and be in touch with people, all because of devices. But what you lose in all of that is that spontaneity, that laughter, that connection with that person. So I really think there's nothing, that's one of the things that I kind of liked about yesterday. And when I was in the several times that I've been detained with Flakebook, I had to pick up the phone more. And that's really, it dawned on me, gosh, I missed picking up the phone and talking to people.
Right. It's almost as if it's a lost art, such as also writing somebody a note, sending them a card. It just seems to be a lost art. And, of course, in the digital age, everything is instantaneous, which can be very good, of course, but we kind of lose some of that, as you mentioned, spontaneity.
Yes.
So, where do we go from here? It made me think about different things yesterday, personal wise and of course, business wise, to get certain things done, not to rely on just different things. I like how we have expanded to different video platforms, which I think is really important. If one goes down, we've got to back up on something else, plus I have the USBs of prior podcasts. And speaking of prior podcasts, we obviously, and we've chatted about this briefly, we do have our 350th coming up, but there's one other thing I wanted to mention. And of course I can't put my fingers on it, but where's my little book? Oh, here it is.
How cool is that? 350. I mean, who would have thought we would have already had 350 or approaching our 350 episode of podcasts? That's a huge milestone for anybody, I think. I don't know. I'm excited.
It is. I mean, we'll probably talk this one to death, but it all goes back to when the thought came up to do this project, but more importantly, to showcase. We are not experts at podcasting, nor do we claim to be, but we want to share our voice. We want to share our love. We want to share our passion. and almost 350 episodes later, that just goes to show you that if you have a voice, you want to share something, you certainly can do it. So what I want to say is about October 21st, I am looking for a stand-in sister for the podcast because I'll be going solo. So I just wanted to put that out there.
That's right, you are going solo. I will be departing unknown destination.
Right, an unknown destination.
Unknown,
Well, of course, I know what it is, but I'm not going to broadcast that. But so if anybody's interested, we'll put out a post later today about that. Taking interviews now. No, I'm only kidding. So just send me a message, however, maybe call me on the phone.
That would be a novelty. You'll get a phone number. You're like, Because I think that's the other reason why people shy away, because sadly, we're over inundated with, scam alerts, possible scam alert, hacker, don't know this number. And it's funny, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I always say, if it's something important, they're going to leave a message because we get scam calls all the time.
Right. Or
scammers don't leave messages. Or they do, and they make it interesting. And then you're like, nah, this is nothing.
Or you can also go to our website and leave me a voice message. In the lower right-hand corner, you will see a microphone and you can leave us a message on the website as well. So Triumph Tuesday, busy day today. Lots going on. It's all good. I just love the fact that we are able to share obviously what we're passionate about, not only together, but in our separate and respective businesses. And I just think that's kind of cool.
It is cool. We're cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we are definitely cool.
I think we're cool. Own it. You feel cool. You just feel good, right? So embrace your coolness.
And that's it. Hashtag embrace your coolness.
That's
On
right.
that note, the two sisters have a busy day, both together and separately, and we are always happy to brighten your day. Send us a message. Call us on the phone. Let us know what you would like to see or different topics, or maybe you want to give a shout out to somebody, or maybe you want to sneak in one of our podcasts for a segue into a little chit chat about nothing or something about something. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, and I am with the two
TwoSistas, and this is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss Live. We wish you a great Triumph Tuesday. You know what? A triumph doesn't have to be this monumental thing. We like to remind you of that. Small stepping stones lead to bigger triumphs. But don't forget to celebrate that, you got through something that you thought you wouldn't. That's what makes the journey that much more doable, and you know that you're on that successful path. We will see you tomorrow for Wellness Wednesday, one of our favorite days of the week. Well, you know what? I think they're all pretty.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.